Every month, gameranx puts together the most notably strange stories coming from the gaming world. And hey, look at that, another month has passed. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, the weird gaming stories of May 2023. Starting off at number 10, oh my lord, look at this. So there's obviously always advances in graphical technology happening, and Unreal Engine 5 is just at the forefront in terms of real-time rendering. And now they've created a new approach called neural physics for hair, and probably things that are not hair, but hair is the thing that we've seen, and that's also kind of why it's weird. I mean, there's a couple of reasons why this is bizarre. Firstly, we're just looking at somebody messing with hair. It's odd to look at. But secondly, it's pretty damn realistic. They pull it up, it falls down in a really realistic way. They cut it, and it becomes as ugly and weird as it would look like if you cut hair like that. Got a nice big chunk there on the top. But I mean, overall, think of how incredible this is going to be in a very short period of time. This is, I mean, better than anything I've ever seen in a real-time simulation of hair, period. I've never seen anything like this. You've never seen anything. Nothing like this has ever existed. It's incredible, and outside of the obvious strangeness of manipulating hair in a weird kind of anti-gravity, but also not anti-gravity way, it's a little jarring, but also you can easily imagine the possibilities here. At number 9, the Japanese police force has finally snapped. They arrested a YouTuber for posting gameplay videos. I mean, to be fair, it's not completely that. It's just what this sounds like up front, and yeah, it kinda is. There is some weirdness here. So he uploaded gameplay footage of a game called Steins Gate, My Darling's Embrace, which also has an anime adaptation. So there's two problems with what he did. Firstly, Steins Gate, My Darling's Embrace is a visual novel, meaning it's not a highly interactive game, and uploading it can actively serve as a substitute for playing it in a way that, you know, is dissimilar from like Dark Souls or Final Fantasy. Yeah, you can just watch the thing if you want, but it's definitely not the same as playing it. Visual novels, I mean, a lot of it, the player's just kind of reading the let's play of it, which is what you do in the game. Certainly if you're adding commentary that is critical or transformative in some way, it would probably be different, but he was just uploading this. So you could pretty much just watch it and take in the whole story if you wanted. On top of that, he intercut scenes from this anime, apparently, which that's just straight up copyright infringement. Cut and dry. Now, keeping in mind most of the time what happens with YouTube copyright content stuff, people don't get arrested, and that's kind of what makes this weird, even though, I mean, he was technically breaking the law. Usually, they just monetize that stuff and say whatever, but this probably did actively pose a bit more of a threat to the purchasing of the game than most Let's Play content, just because of the nature of the game, and the fact that he was intercutting stuff from the anime adaptation. I mean, I wouldn't expect to get arrested over it, but it was a problem. At number 8, the general manager of Crytek's Hunt Showdown presented a very strange statistic. So in a game in which you hunt the other players among enemies, obviously you can hunt enemies as well, but in a game where you can kill other players and it's a hunting game about killing the other players and the enemies, 40% of people who play this game have never killed another player in it. Now, to be fair, as I said, there are enemies, and there are a lot of them. It's a pretty large part of Hunt Showdown. And according to Dave Fifield, the general manager, he thinks a large amount of those players are people who come in on free weekends and don't quite get the hang of it, and they kill a bunch of enemies but not other players, which is possible, but that still seems like a pretty high number to me. In a game called Hunt Showdown, which implies very much that you will be hunting other players who are hunting you and may end up in a showdown, that more people would, you know, succeed at it. At number 7, Bungie won $16.2 million from a cheater. I mean, it's a little more complex than that. Essentially, they sued the developer of the wall hacks cheat for multiple things going on here. Firstly, the Copyright Act, which I can immediately figure out exactly how that would work. In order to sell a cheat software, it would have to interface with the legitimate software, and that would require probably reverse engineering and some reproduction of content, or perhaps modification of content. I don't know. They also sued on the basis of the DMCA's anti-circumvention provisions, but probably more interestingly is the Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act. Dubbed the RICO Act, it's actually a law that was originally enacted in the 1970s to prosecute members of the mafia, which is particularly interesting because out of the 3 defendants in the case, one of them actually did what some mafia people would do and assisted the case, handed over all the information, and, well, gets to be called a stool pigeon for the rest of his days in his circles. This is another in a sort of trend in which more and more of these cheat organizations, some of them are actually companies. This one was a company in Canada, although the defendants were not all from Canada. One from Denmark didn't even bother coming to the court hearing. And number 6, here's one of the rare times I'm going to just flat out agree with a CEO. Not only that, a CEO, one of the biggest gaming companies in the world, which is known for kind of milking money. If you've ever played Grand Theft Auto Online, you know what Take-Two is capable of. But he came out and he said something just completely agree with. You know, I'm very pro AI. I think AI is an incredible tool and will take us into areas that are previously unheard of, but this is something that I just completely 100% agree with. In an earnings call, Strauss Zelnick was taking questions and had this to say. As you know, I'm usually a skeptic when others engage in hyperbole, but in the case of AI, I'm pretty enthusiastic. First of all, despite the fact artificial intelligence is an oxymoron, it's machine learning, this company's been involved in those activities, no matter what words you use to describe them, for its entire history, and we're a leader in this space. While the most recent developments in AI are surprising and exciting to many, they're exciting to us, but not that surprising. Our view is that AI will allow us to do a better job and a more efficient job. You're talking about tools that are simply better and more effective tools. Pretty in line with what I just said, but he goes a step further, and this is where it really hits. Somebody asked if there's going to be some majority AI created game in the future, to which he responded, I wish I could say the advances in AI would make it easier to create hits, but obviously it won't. Hits are created by genius, and data sets plus compute plus large language models does not equal genius. Genius is the domain of human beings, and I believe it will stay that way. Hell yeah, my man. This is exactly in line with what I think on it. I mean, I haven't talked about AI on this channel a whole lot, but I see it as the next generation of tools that will allow human beings to do amazing new things. It is not conscious, it is not sentient, it's not going to take over the world, and it's not going to replace creative jobs. It might shift them around, which will probably involve certain people losing jobs. The jobs are just going to be different. I suspect that AI is going to end up making more things possible at a similar quality to what people already expect. And it's just nice to hear some huge CEO just advocating for people, artists, game developers, as A, really where the best parts of a game come from, and B, genius. I just feel like we don't have enough executives recognizing exactly how incredible the creative people in their companies are. And it's nice to see that, even if it's in the context of something else. And number 5, Ubisoft is getting into NFTs with what they're calling smart collectibles. So they're going to mass produce these little cubes that have Assassin's Creed characters in them and then tie them to NFTs. Because mass produced an NFT, that makes perfect sense. But they're calling them digital souls. So this little plastic guy is tied to an NFT that you can activate on your mobile device and use the soul customizer, which we could also say clothes changer. Also, you can switch out things like weapons, the pose of the digital character, not the plastic guy. Weirdly enough, it seems like a lot of news outlets didn't cover this that negatively, and that's insane. Who the hell wants, like, honestly, seriously, if there's anybody who actually wants such a thing in the comments, I'm interested in why. I think you're gonna lose the little dude, and then the NFT is just like in your mobile device until it isn't anymore. I don't know. What's the point is what I'm saying. It's not a particularly large collectible. It looks tiny, so it's not something you can display, and even if you could display it, you couldn't display your customized character because that exists only digitally. I hate it. And number 4, somebody hand-painted a resin-printed Elden Ring chess set, and it is glorious. It's only weird mainly because I don't think this is something I would have thought of at any point. Also, it very weirdly looks like not strange at all, like chess as Elden Ring. It actually looks beautiful and like a actually legitimately old, cool chess set. Apparently, you can do this very easily. Like, there are chess pieces that are out there you can print, but the hand painting of it just puts it over the top. At number 3, Doom 2 RPG has been ported to PC by some fans 13 years after it was released on the Java phone platform. It also came out on Windows Phone, BlackBerry, and probably most notably iOS. It's the sequel to the original Doom RPG, which was a Java-only thing. And knowing what Java kind of is and knowing that these are pretty old Java games, it obviously looks like Doom, but it incorporates various RPG stalwarts. The combat system, probably the most obvious, that does not look a lot like Doom. Certainly, if it looks like Doom, that's the worst game of Doom you've ever played. The original Doom RPG had a story that resembled Doom 3's, however, wasn't Doom 3's story, and Doom 2 RPG, not super unlike it. I mean, they both take place on ships, I guess. You move around square by square and, well, deal with things going on. There's dialogue, there's, a lot going on. And I remember playing these games when they came out. They're actually fun. It sounds like a bizarre thing to say almost, but they work. It's actually enjoyable stuff. Is that the weird part? Maybe. But I think the weird part is that it took this long for some fans to be like, oh, let's actually go ahead and port this somewhat janky RPG and its sequel based on Doom to PC, where it's going to be extra janky to even try to get it to work, but it's also kind of fun and worth it. At number 2, CD Projekt Red had to confirm that they were not, in fact, being bought by Sony. Again, this has been something they've had to confirm more than once, but there was a pretty big rumor going around about that purchase, and in response, on a investor call, CD Projekt Red's CEO said, "Nothing has changed on our end. I can repeat what we've been saying throughout the years. CD Projekt Red is not for sale. We want to remain independent. I believe we have an excellent strategy, and it's very exciting to follow our path." Straightforward, I would say. But there is a reason why people think that these types of things are happening. Sony has been really buying up a lot of bigger studios. Bungie is probably the most notable. To have Sony own Bungie is, hilarious, honestly. But to say they've snagged up a few more would be a pretty big understatement. Still, CD Projekt Red is asserting that they're just not interested in being bought by anybody, which is cool. A lot of the time, you kind of just wish that more of these studios were like that. If they're doing well, they're self-sufficient, and it's not important to sell for it to stay in existence. They shouldn't, in my opinion, but that's me. Apparently, it's also CD Projekt Red, thankfully, though, so good on them. And finally, at number 1, we open with Unreal. Why not close with it? This is not something that the hair in the other Unreal story would survive. Well, they released this Burning Forest tech demo for Unreal Engine 5.2, and it's completely insane. It's primarily a brand new, hey, look at what Nanite can do situation. And to be frank, these are incredible whenever they come about. See the Matrix demo, that was an incredible, realistic looking city, and this is now the exact opposite. It's a burning forest, and it's incredibly realistic while it's burning, but also after it stops. When something's burning, there is movement, and there is kind of a easier sell, so to speak. Certain things are covered up, there's smoke, things are moving, there's a certain heightened atmosphere. But after the fire's gone, it still looks as incredible. They both look pretty close to real to me. One of the reasons it looks fake is the first person, I'm in a game perspective. But you could easily use this as a movie set and nobody would really question it. And that's a big part of what's going on with Unreal. It's kind of becoming everything, which is both incredible and also a little scary. But I trend towards the positive on this one. I love what it's enabling people to do, and I love seeing it develop more and more, even though it's kind of weird how far it's come. I also had a bonus for you. It shouldn't really shock you that it came to this, but the Developer of Lord of the Rings Gollum, Daedalic Entertainment, apologized for the game. I'll quote them directly. "We would like to sincerely apologize for the underwhelming experience many of you have had with the Lord of the Rings Gollum upon its release. We acknowledge and deeply regret that the game did not meet the expectations we set for ourselves or for our dedicated community. Please accept our sincere apologies for any disappointment this may have caused." They also did commit to developing this game to what they're calling its fullest potential, although it is also Gollum. This game isn't exactly a hugely complex framework that, if only they developed it to its full potential, would have been much better. I don't know. We'll see. I like that they're at least trying to make good. It would be very easy for them to sort of skirt off with the money that they made from the game and just, not fix it. So that's nice. I will say it's still kind of shocking that they released a game in that state. Not even that it's the biggest mess I've ever seen, but it's just not a complete game. Like, it's such a half-baked idea that everything that's good about it is just surrounded by weird, incomplete feelings. But that's Gollum. It's also the end of the video, so leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications, and as always, thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter @FalconTheHero. We'll see you next time right here on GameRanx.